the chains are gone, my soul is light. Going west to freedom. Walking on till morning bright. Going west to freedom. Across them hills so high. With the Lord to be my guide. No more whips, no more pain. Heading where they know my name.
Sure. Shelia Braxton was born in Selma, Alabama, and raised here in the Pacific Northwest, and a graduate of Mount Tahoma High School in Tacoma, Washington. I then relocated and went back to Alabama, where I graduated from the University of Alabama, Birmingham, with a Bachelor's of Science degree. Served my first career, I say, in the hospitals as it relates to rehab medicine as a registered occupational therapist. I later then, when we relocated back here, started working with the Matt Talbert Center and using that training to help our brothers and sisters that are living on the street and suffering with addictions and all kinds of issues, helping them to regain their independence and their sobriety. I also was blessed to work with our nation's veterans at the Seattle Veterans Hospital, doing similar work with our veterans that were struggling with addictions. And so from there, I moved on and was blessed to be able to work with foster children with Casey Family Programs. And from there, I started working with New Beginnings Christian Fellowship, supporting my husband in the ministry work here.
I was brought here earlier in my childhood. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, in Rockwell Colored People Hospital.
Yes.
The third of the three Braxton children, Norman, Felicia, and Leslie, born 1959, 1960, and 1961. The third time was a charm. I was 1 year old when the family came back to Tacoma, Washington. My mother brought her three children back. I graduated UPS. By that time, I was licensed in the ministry. That happened when I was 20, during my junior year at UPS. And when I graduated, I went straight into seminary at Colgate-Rochester Divinity School in Rochester, New York. When we were there at Mount Zion, when I was candidating, the question everybody asked me a ton of times was, what's your vision?
Exactly.
And I told them, I'll develop a vision with you in context. Because if I come in the door with a vision, trust me, I am transcripting the vision of the last church onto this church. A vision is always determined in context. And so we spent 3 years from 2001 to 2004 developing a comprehensive vision for the Mount Zion Baptist Church to position it to do gainful ministry into the 21st century. That included outreach, curriculum, technology, facilities enhancements, property development, a master plan for the campus. There's no such thing as a mega church in the Pacific Northwest where black people are only 3% of the population. Right. There's not enough black people to do a mega church, and white people are not in large numbers going to be in a church led by black leadership. They're not going to. Now, black people will go to a church led by white leadership because that's normative of our minority experience. In school, on job, and social institutions, we're used to being in the minority. White people are not used to being in the minority, and they're not used to being under black leadership. So, as I kept telling them, that's a fantasy. It was really used as weaponized language to make me the boogeyman for people who felt that I was a threat to this venerable institution. People can talk about they want change. When they say that, they usually mean someone else to change, and oftentimes in churches, they want you to be a younger version of what they had. Well, once we produced the vision, and then 95% of the people supported it. Oh, okay. But Martin Luther King Jr. said, never underestimate the damage that a dedicated minority can do, particularly when it includes some of the most powerful people in the state and a predecessor of 40 years, pulling strings. And so as a result of that, I was there 5 years and 10 months. quiet as it's kept, I never lost a vote, not one. We went from $770,000 raised, Reverend McKinney's last year in 1978, to 1.1 million my first year, 1999, when some people said Mount Zion will never break $1 million, to 1.8 million at the end of 2004, and we were on pace to do 2.2 million in 2005, the year that I left, and that was through the dot-com crashes of 2001 and 2003. We were growing. Well, on the very first service in the cafeteria of Renton High School, August 7, 2005, I said, within 5 years, we will build our own facility from the ground up. Okay. Toward that end, we will save $1 million apart from operating expenses within a year, so that we'll be eligible for a mortgage loan or construction loan, and we'll be able to purchase property when it becomes available.
So you're thinking ground up when you had that conversation?
Absolutely. Okay. And I knew that banks evaluate your suitability for a loan based upon your credit history. And since we didn't have any history, we had to have liquid assets. Right. Because I knew that if we walk in the bank with $1 million, they're not going to let us walk out. A master plan for the reinvigorating of a storied and venerable institution that had existed now in 3 centuries, right, became a blueprint for a brand new ministry. Exactly. In the will of God. And so we already had a design, we already had a plan and a focus. And that's basically what we've done over these past 20 years. Sometimes when the members of Mount Zion come here, I say, this is what we were planning.